Yo, I don't think Arc Raiders is gonna make it, man. Or is it? Hear me out here. October 30th, Arc Raiders is going to be dropping right in the middle of a war zone. What may that be? Battlefield 6 releases on October 10th, as we all know, and then Call of Duty Black Ops 7 will be releasing following Arc Raiders on November 14th. We got two AAA juggernauts that are going to be launching crazy marketing campaigns and making a lot of noise during that time. And then we got the homie Arc Raiders that is just plopped right in between them. The real question is, can Arc Raiders survive this fall, or is it going to get completely buried, yo? Let's actually dive a little bit deeper into this conundrum here and break it down piece by piece. I want to start this conversation off with what I call the marketing problem, because honestly, this is where a lot of my personal concern begins. Embark, although shallow, actually has a track record of not marketing things properly. Now, one may ask, why in the world do I believe that? And I will present you Exhibit A, the finals. This is one of the best shooters out at this exact moment in time. Argue with your mama, man. But tons of casual gamers have no idea that this game even exists. Why? Because Embark never really marketed this game in any capacity. Outside of a few ads or promotionals at release, majority of this game's growth came from YouTube creators and word of mouth. With Arc Raiders, for the most part, it feels like the same story. Now, of course, we got that release date trailer back in June, I believe, and as of late, we've been getting a little bit more on YouTube and in their Discord channel. But if we're going to keep it a whole band, you're only going to find those videos if you're out looking for them, or if you get recommended them by a YouTube video, of course. So when I talk about reach and marketing, I'm talking about more so mainstream, not us Arc Raider heads that are actually going out looking for updates, you know? Meanwhile, when it comes to Battlefield and Call of Duty, yo, they have full-blown marketing blitzes. They got the trailers on deck, yo. They got the influencers paid out of their mind. They're doing all this crazy hype marketing, you name it. And look, before I go any further, I know Embark Studios is a much smaller studio than that of EA and all of their not parenting studios, but all of the studios underneath them, as well as Activision. And we know Microsoft has an unlimited bag, so they can promote Call of Duty like no other, right? I'm well aware Embark Studio does not have that type of bread, for lack of a better term, to be able to match them. But yo, we need a little bit of something, man. Come on, just throw a little bit of something out there. I mean, yo, I would love nothing more than to be watching college football on a Saturday and one of the commercials is an Arc Raiders trailer. I probably would cry tears of joy, man. But then again, I am an American and I believe Embark Studios is based out of Sweden. Don't quote me on that. So yeah, I can see where there may be a little bit of a disconnect there, but I digress. Now that we've somewhat discussed everything in the marketing realm, we got to talk about the second big issue here, and that's just the release window in general, man. Yo, this timing literally could not have been worse. You have two AAA titles, regardless if they were any good or not. We know Battlefield is actually going to be mad lit this year. Call of Duty, it is what it is. We know the Call of Duty enthusiasts are going to buy it no matter what, right? Again, they got endless money pushing both of those products, and we all know those games are going to sell, right? The thing that really sucks about this release window has to do with the casual gamer, right? Think about it like this. The casual gamer is somebody that probably doesn't watch Twitch or searches gaming content on YouTube, stuff like that. The casual person that you might run into at work or something like that, right? That person is familiar with Call of Duty, no matter what. It's a household name, you know? So if they get somewhat of an inkling that Call of Duty may look somewhat cool, they'll drop their hard-earned money on it, right? Battlefield may not be as big as Call of Duty, but people still somewhat know what Battlefield is. They'll say, oh yes, that big military type game, right? And you'll say, yeah, absolutely. And if it looks like it could be a fun time with the homies after a long day at work, they'll probably drop a little bag on that as well, you know? But when it comes to Arc Raiders, I just don't think that casual gamer is going to really be looking for it, because what is going to be shown at every halftime of every college football game, NFL game, whether if you're watching your favorite sitcom, whatever, what commercials are you going to see? Battlefield and Call of Duty. So the casual gamer is probably going to drop their bread on that, you know? Now, if Arc Raiders would have released back in the summer, and before I go any further, I'm well aware that in Sweden, there's like a holiday or there's like a break period sometime in the summer. So I hear you and I respect that to the fullest, okay? But hypothetically speaking, if Arc Raiders releases in the summer when there are no major titles around it, when casual gamers may be looking for something to fill their time because they're burnt out with Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or Warzone or whatever, so their head may be on a swivel. You know, they may look in the PlayStation Store or the Xbox Store or on Steam and see Arc Raiders. They may do a little inquiry in Google or on YouTube. Their eyes light up because they see how incredible it is, and boom, now you have onboarded a plethora of casual gamers that would have never found your game had it released around Battlefield and Call of Duty. And guess when Arc Raiders is releasing? Around Battlefield and Call of Duty, you know? So that is a conundrum in its own. It's super unfortunate because no matter how you slice it, you can be the biggest Embark Studios enthusiast. I am that. Trust and believe I am truly that. But real gotta recognize real, yo. They're going to take a hit. The player base, at least at launch, is going to take a hit as a direct result of this because, look, in today's day and age, you don't have $70 for Battlefield, $70 for Call of Duty, and then an additional $40 to $60 for Arc Raiders. You probably got enough to purchase one of those three games. And again, the casual gamer probably doesn't even know about Arc Raiders at this moment in time. So they're going to drop that bread on Battlefield or Call of Duty. And maybe if they got a little extra bread or if they want to use Klarna or something, they'll probably get Call of Duty and Battlefield. And when they hear about Arc Raiders, they'll say, man, that game sounds cool, but man, I ain't see nothing on it. I ain't hear nothing about it, dog. I'm going to just focus on what I know, what I'm familiar with, which is Battlefield and Call of Duty. And that, my friend, that is mad unfortunate. But with that all being said, do know that it is not all doom and gloom, though. I got to play the other side here now. I got to talk about why I believe Arc Raiders can survive and still be able to thrive amidst this tough competition. See, here's the cool thing about Arc Raiders, man. Arc Raiders, it does not need to outsell Battlefield or Call of Duty, right? Because Arc Raiders doesn't need to sell 1 trillion copies to pay back investors and to lace the pockets of everybody that's on the board of directors for Microsoft or Activision or EA or any of that, right? It's a small, tight-knit studio. They make a little bit of bread, they're going to be happy, right? So they don't need to sell a plethora of copies. They just need to outlast the hype of Battlefield and Call of Duty. Now you may ask, Cray, outlast the hype. Why'd you use that verbiage? And I will further explain this, all right? We all know when it comes to these fast-paced, high-octane games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, right? People may say Battlefield's much more of a lax type of game. There's still a lot of high-octane combat. You got jets dropping bombs on people and tanks blowing up build. It's high-octane, all right? So I'm going to just group it in there, you know? There's something that comes along with games like that that's called Battlefield and or Call of Duty fatigue, right? And that typically sets in after you've grinded for every weapon unlock, you've grinded for every challenge, for the only in Battlefield moments, or you grinded to drop a nuke in Call of Duty, the camo challenges, right? You've done literally anything and everything you could have done in those respective games, right? And this may take place like 6 months into the game. Let's just throw that out there arbitrarily. So 6 months in, which puts us where in that March, April timeframe. I don't know, I can't count, right? It puts us in that time frame right there. March, April comes around, and you just have that FPS fatigue in general, right? Where you're just tired of being high octane, and you're tired of running and gunning, you're tired of blowing up buildings, shooting stuff with jets, and you're tired of dropping nukes and grinding new weapons, and no amount of content Battlefield or Call of Duty releases satiates you anymore, for lack of a better term, right? So your head may be on a swivel and you may be looking for something else. This is where Arc Raiders can actually reign supreme here. Why? Because yes, even though it is a shooter, it is a third-person shooter, and the gameplay loop is so adverse when we're talking about Battlefield and Call of Duty, right? Those high-octane FPSs, Arc Raiders is a bit slower. Obviously, it's an extraction shooter, right? But mechanically, the game is so much different than that of Battlefield and Call of Duty that it could actually be a breath of fresh air, right? Whenever one gets this FPS fatigue, it isn't necessarily that they're done playing shooters and they need to go play a sports game or a JRPG or anything like that. I mean, they can, but sometimes they just are looking for a pivot, right? So it may not just be a general respawn, run and gun, or BR style FPS type of title. It may be something that gives them another type of endorphin rush, like surviving the onslaught of a bunch of Arc robots and other raiders trying to take everything you got, right? The risk versus reward, knowing that you got a bunch of good loot and you want to exfil, but you hear gunfire across the map and your bloodlust, is it bloodlust or bloodthirst? Either or, I think they're interchangeable, right? That just heightens and you're like, yo, do I exfil or do I go fly that other team of raiders and see what they got, right? Like sometimes people are just looking for a little change of pace there, knowing that, hey, look, if I go down, I lose everything I worked so hard to get. Again, people may be looking for that type of change of pace, right? They may not even know about an extraction shooter or what one is, but I'm sure that if they inquire, they go on Google or they go on YouTube and watch a few videos and say, man, this does look mad different from Call of Duty or from Battlefield. You know what? I think I'll drop the $40 on this and see what it's going for. And they do that. Now they're in a whole new world, yo. And that's when we can see Arc Raiders really start to snowball and really start to accrue a larger player base, for lack of a better term. And you know, the more I think about it, what is really cool about this initial time period where people, and by people I mean like the casual gamer or the average gamer, when those individuals are going to be sleeping on Arc Raiders, this gives Embark Studios the time to really dial things in, right? We know that first impression is everything, yo. It is everything, right? Imagine if this game came out, and I'm not saying this is going to be the case, but imagine that it came out and servers were completely unstable, right? Servers literally were just raggedy, right? Or the content was bare bones, or like, you know, the player retention hooks, for lack of a better term, like reasons to grind or reasons to log in weekly just weren't present. Players would be like, oh dude, this game has nothing going to it. I'ma just move on, or I'ma just, you know, go to Call of Duty or Battlefield, right? But with Arc Raiders being overshadowed by those two AAA behemoths, it's going to give Embark Studios the opportunity to wipe off and get rid of all the dust, to buff out all the rust and make sure servers are stable, to make sure that the content is rocking and rolling, to listen to player sentiment and feedback, right? To make sure that they got those retention hooks on point. So when those players do run into that FPS fatigue, you know, months down the road, and they come over to Arc Raiders, it's going to be like a gold mine. The game is going to feel like utter perfection, and they're going to be like, yo, I've never experienced or played anything like this in my life, yo. And that right there is when Arc Raiders is going to just blossom and it's just going to dominate the scene. I mean, shucks, it may still launch. I may be completely wrong, and it may rival Call of Duty and Battlefield. If that happens, I will be incredibly, like, I don't know. I can't even have the words for it. I can't find the words for it. I'll just be elated. I guess we could use that word. Yeah. I would be elated if that was the case. But if it's not the case, I'm not too worried about it either. I believe Embark Studios is smart enough to play the long game anyways, and they probably already had these conversations inside the studio, and they're probably ready for war, yo. So yeah, when it's all said and done, I believe Arc Raiders is going to thrive no matter what, but I want to hear what you all have to say about this. Please let me know down in the comments. Until next time, it's been your boy Cray. We're signing out, and I will catch you all in the next one.